and welcome to another episode of our business leadership podcast, Titans of Work. I'm your host, Chris Boltman, and today we're going to talk about the right business mindset. To do that, I brought two titans in the industry, CEO of Interchanges, Chris Patterson, and President of Interchanges, Nelson Brunton. Hello. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us, Chris. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So before we get started today on our 5 topics, I wanted you guys to give a quick rundown on your company, just a little background.
Sure. So I started the business, we're going on our 17th year of business right now, and I actually started out of my wife's dining room. And I guess the reason I know it was my wife's dining room is because she kept saying, you have to get out of my dining room, right? So that was 17 years ago. I eventually did get out of her dining room, got myself a little bit one office, then got one employee, and then we've grown. So we're now in a place where we've got about 160 or so virtual workers and about 7 full-time workers here locally in Jacksonville. And we've just been growing the business year over year. So we're having a lot of fun and enjoying every minute of it.
That's great. And before we go on to our first topic, I heard you guys have generated over $1.2 billion of revenue for your clients. Is that true?
That is true. It's and growing. So we're very proud of that, obviously, because our team is amazing. Our people do a great job. We're very passionate about what we do. And, it's all about business-to-business acquisition for our clients. So the more customers we can get them, the better off we are as a business. But, it's them first. That's what's most important to us, make sure our customers are getting more customers.
Sure, absolutely, which is a good transition into our first question of the interview here. So we're in the same industry, right? The online marketing space. How do you find networking with people like me that are in your industry? How do you do that without disrupting your business?
It's interesting because a lot of times our competitors are off-put by us being willing to help them. Mm-hmm. And, some get it and some don't. But really, we have a philosophy that we live by, which is you can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. So we've always just been open. I mean, this is a big world. There's a lot of different niches and industries and services and things that we can do. So, I know for instance, the type of services and the people that you reach are different than the people we reach, and we have different types of services as well. So why shouldn't we be working together?
Absolutely.
It only expands the pot, right?
It's like you talked about on your last podcast. Know your niche and go after it. And so
absolutely.
I think that's absolutely critical. It's spot on. And it's also having an abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality. Some people are trying to hold on to what they can and trying to make sure nobody else gets it. And, we like working with people that are abundance. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. If you know what you want to go after, help everybody get what they want, like you said. And it's just the right mentality to have, I think.
Now, at the same time, just to be fair, I'm not going to let my competitors come to my trade show booth and start taking leads from there either.
Sure. So I can't come set up shop there, no?
I mean, there's a balance, but we should have a community mentality and work together for sure.
That's great. Well, how did you guys find that you ended up here? You guys are running a successful company. You're helping a lot of clients. What would you say to, we have a lot of people that watch this podcast and, they're trying to get ahead. They're trying to succeed. What advice would you both give them if they're not there yet?
Gotcha.
No, if I'll take that one.
Yeah, I got something to say too.
So it's about being relentless. I mean, recognize the opportunities everywhere you can. It gets hard sometimes, especially if you're starting up. It's a given fact that you're going to have to put in 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days for a pretty good while until you get to a point to where you can start relaxing a little bit. And now, relaxing is different than getting complacent. But I think, just understanding up front that you're going to have to put in the hard work. No matter what business you're in, no matter what industry you're in, you're going to have to put in the hard work. And so, recognize opportunities too. Everywhere you go. One of the things I do to this day, and what I started, 13 years ago working with Chris, is I see a truck driving down the road, and I'm like, you know what? They probably have a fleet of those. They probably have a legit business. I'm going to, take a quick mental note or take a picture of the side of the truck. call them later when I get to the office and kind of see what they're doing to grow their business. And so
He still does it, by the way. We're driving down the street and we're having a great conversation. He's like, hey, hold on a second. He's looking out the window and there he is on his phone.
So you seize even the smallest of opportunities, and you don't ever look at one as too small of an opportunity before you take it.
Well, we take advantage of every opportunity. We call it RTO. Again, stands for recognize the opportunity. It just baffles me how many opportunities are all around us all the time. And we just need to be alert. We need to be aware, and the more alert and aware we are, the more opportunity seems to pop its head up. So
you guys feel as long as someone's being relentless, they're getting up and they're taking action, there's always going to be opportunity around them. It's the people who are stagnant and they don't really do anything that they're missing the
it's
opportunity.
not going to fall in your lap.
no. And another thing too that I would share is, especially with the viewers, anybody starting up a business, one of the things that we took by heart, it's all these little quips, it's all these little nuggets of truth that have helped us along the way. But the one that we lived by again is bite off more than you can chew. And then chew like crazy.
Yes.
and
I like that.
So, as a startup, you can't say no to certain kinds of business. You have to take whatever comes in. You can get a little more selective as you mature and as you grow, but do whatever it takes and take your lumps with it. The headaches and the problem clients and whatever you need to do to get yourself over that initial hump. So you're going from, survival into hopefully success.
While gaining experience along the way.
Yeah.
And experience is priceless.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really just toughing it out and doing whatever it takes in the beginning.
That's good. So transitioning into topic 3, a big question, Chris. I know you have been mentored by one of the best motivational speakers there is. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who that is, what your experience was, and maybe one of your biggest takeaways that you learned while being mentored by that person.
Start from the beginning. This is a good story.
All right. So actually, I was, I guess it was 1995, and I was a Class A loser. I mean, I really messed up my life by the time I was about 25 years old. And I don't know if you ever been 16 before?
I've been 16, yes.
Well, from the age of about 16 years old till 25, I just did everything wrong. And, I ended up getting fired from jobs and getting kicked out of school and wasted my dad's money and had people hated my guts. There was just, I did everything the wrong way. And I remember it was one morning the phone rang. It was my dad. And he said, son, I'd like for you to go to a success seminar with me. And at first I was like, oh, no, I don't need anyone to teach me about success. And, of course, I'm a loser, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm the perfect candidate that needed this. And I looked around my room, and I remember I looked in one corner, and I saw a pile of dirty clothes. And I looked in another corner, and I saw, beer cans and ashtrays. And my room stunk. And it was a representation of my life, right? And I just kind of had that moment of clarity, and I said, you know what? All right. Okay, Dad, I'll go with you. So we drove over to the Palace of Auburn Hills that day, and we got up in the nosebleed section, and the first guy came out, and the first speaker came out. And I was like, judging everybody and cynical, and I was like, he's no good. And the next one, it was more of the same. But then there was this man that came out, and he was so full of life and so full of conviction. And he was saying things that I'd never heard before, things that didn't compute with my messed up mind. One of the things that he said is your attitude, not your aptitude, will project your altitude.
That's good.
And
That's really good.
And like I shared with you earlier, you can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
Absolutely.
So I leaned over to my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, who's this guy? And he said, son, that man's name is Zig Ziglar. He said he's impacted over 250 million people in his lifetime. He's written 33 books. He has countless recordings and CDs and tapes. It was tapes at the time. I guess I'm dating myself.
Just a little bit.
You remember tapes?
Oh, yeah. Vaguely.
And winded them up with a number 2 pencil.
Yes.
Anyways, so that was my first view of Ziglar. And then a miracle happened just about 12 months later. I'd gotten my life on track. I started listening to his tapes. I was doing everything that he said to do. And I got promoted 4 times in this company in Florida. And then I got promoted again to Plano, Texas. Kind of funny. I remember that the CEO called me. He said, Chris, he said, you're making quite a name for yourself. I'd love to give you your own set of clubs, health clubs. I was the marketing department in Plano, Texas. And I said, well, great. This sounds like a promotion. I said, but where in plain old Texas do you want me to go? So he's like, no, dummy. Plano, Texas, right? So I ended up there, got the staff in the one club ramped up. We were doing extremely well. And I just finished doing a training for about 3 hours. And I went back in my office. I was exhausted. You get tired after doing a lot of training. And one of my employees ran in the office after me, and he said, Chris, he said, there's somebody here that you need to take around the club. And I said, well, that's your job. I just trained you guys how to do this. Go out there and do it. And he had the member's driver's license, and he slid it across the table, and I looked down, and it said, Zig Ziglar.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Recognize the opportunity.
Recognize the opportunity.
So, my heart sank, and I got terrified for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, my hero, the greatest salesman of all time is sitting in my club. And I just decided, man, I just need to man up and go out there and sell Zig Ziglar something. So I went out, shook his hand. I said, I'm just going to pretend I don't know who he is, and I'm just going to follow his system to a T. And I did that, and then we ended up in the closing room. Here's where you either get the deal or you don't. And I remember using one of his techniques. The technique was called the alternative choice close, or the which close. Which would you prefer? And I said, well, Mr. Ziglar, obviously we're a good match for you based on your needs and based on our solutions. And we've got these two different options. You can pay monthly or you can pay in full. Which would you prefer? And at that point, he looked across, and he had these glasses on. He kind of looked down, like through above his glasses at me, kind of intimidating, especially from somebody you respect that much.
Sure.
And he said, son, you know who I am, don't you? and then I turned into the ultimate, Justin Bieber fangirl. Oh my gosh, Mr. Ziglar, I can't believe you're here. But it was an amazing moment in my life, because this is really the man that changed my life. And it wasn't necessarily him as much as it was his philosophy. And that's what we're trying to even share today, is how to have the right mindset and how to have the right approach to life. Something incredible happened right after that, though. He said, Chris, you did a good job. I'm going to go ahead and sign up with you. He said, but I do need personal training. And I said, well, I'd love to, figure out a way. And then I had a light bulb go off, and I said, Mr. Ziglar, I said, look, if you'll work on my physical fitness, or I'll work on your physical fitness 3 times a week, if you'll work on my mental fitness just 1 time a week.
Wow.
What do you say to that? And he said, son, I like your style.
Nice.
And that's how I actually convinced Zig Ziglar to mentor me for 12 months when I lived in Plano, Texas. And, my life has been changed ever more. So that's my Ziglar story. That's how it happened.
And you went back and got certified a couple years ago?
Yeah, so now I actually go back to Dallas about once a year, and to Ziglar headquarters. I get retrained up on speaking and coaching and mentoring, all those types of things. So that is a passion of mine. I really want to help as many people as I can get this philosophy and understand this philosophy. And it's not just for individuals. It helps organizations. It helps churches. It helps companies. It helps families. I mean, so the better people understand the philosophies that were put together, the happier they seem to be.
Absolutely. So you had a goal to increase your mental knowledge, and you got that through Zig Ziglar, which is awesome. So going into our fourth topic, we all have goals, right? Every company, every individual, and if you don't, we hope that you do. Work on that. But when you have goals, sometimes you don't achieve it. So what would either one of you guys say to somebody who is trying to achieve something, but they're in a rut? What do you do from that?
I mean, and he can talk to it. He teaches workshops on this, but I mean, write down your goals. But there's a skill to setting goals. So you need to know how to set goals first of all. But a big component at the minimum is write goals down. But there's a whole skill set involved in learning goals, and if you don't know how, I mean, there's plenty of people besides Ziglar, but learn how to set goals. Make sure the goals are written down, and set lofty goals. If you don't achieve them, if you set lofty goals and you get close, well, then you can be, at least happy with the result. But I think, the key is, have a skill set to set goals.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that we teach. We do, half-day workshops basically, and we go through a 7-step process. And I think a lot of people just, get out a notepad and write down some goals and they forget about it. But to answer your question, when people get into a rut, often they have lacked a little bit of creativity. Mm-hmm. So, when you set your mind on a goal, you're not just going to go like a beeline straight there. You're going to have detours and you're going to have stoplights and you're going to have all kinds of things that come in your way. So again, we need to have kind of a mindset of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get beyond this. And probably one of the biggest things that you can do is ask for help.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%.
If you see a turtle at the top of a fence post, chances are he did not get there by himself.
Yes.
Somebody helped that turtle up and put it on top of that fence post. And it's the same in life. So you have to and I know it's difficult. A lot of people don't like to ask for help, or they think they're going to get rejected, or they think that they're going to, somehow something bad's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the worst anyone can say is, no, I'm not willing to help you. But most don't. And there's so many people out there that are willing to share their advice, willing to give of themselves. So if you have somebody who's ahead of you that you respect, that obviously can probably solve the problem or has solved the problem for themselves, ask them.
And I would, piggyback on that. Conversely, if you've reached a certain level of success, make sure that you make yourself available to help others. Because if you have wisdom to give, just like you guys are doing with these podcasts,
yes.
Right? You guys have been amazingly successful in both your businesses, both of you guys. And so you're sharing wisdom from the failures that you've gone through, from the successes that you've been through. And I think that's very important to be able to give back to people when they ask. I'm a Rotarian and have been for about 6 years now. And so the younger club is called Rotaract. And so I speak at some of the Rotaract clubs here locally to the 20-something professionals that are just getting into their career. Mm-hmm. And about every time 3 or 4 of the people that are in the audience will email me afterwards and ask to go to coffee and pick my brain. I say yes happily because I was there at one point. And I would love for him. And I'm not there yet where I want to be. Obviously,
sure.
Are we
I'm
ever?
young in my career.
Are we ever?
So,
Never. Absolutely.
But as soon as you get to the point where somebody respects what you've done or you've accomplished something, make sure that if somebody asks you for your advice, spend the time. Now, you can't say yes all the time, but make sure it's part of your commitment to give back to the people that are trying to get where you are or further. So.
That's good. So you guys talked a little bit about setting goals, taking action, and starting with at least writing it down. Mm-hmm. So what happens when you guys have goals and you're starting to achieve them, but you're starting to feel stagnant? You're chugging along and the goals are being met, but it's the same goal over and over, and forward progress is happening, but can you get stagnant? And if you do, where do you go from there? How do you handle that?
Let me give a quick example of creativity. So, we were doing well, even I guess it was about 6 years ago when everything kind of downturned. Construction, real estate, the bubble, all that bad stuff happened, the beginning of the recession. And I'm sitting in my office one day thinking, you know what? Let me get creative. I got to do something to get the engine going, to get to a next level, to have some excitement. And so I meet with referral partners on a regular basis, which, by the way, is another tip or thing that, find people that are selling to similar businesses that you can meet with and say, who are you meeting with and who am I meeting with, and share referrals one-on-one.
How can we help each other?
How can we help each other?
Yeah.
And so I got behind on those meetings. So I sent out, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, from 9 to 11 one morning. It was a Wednesday. I sent out about 7 messages and calls to my referral partners and said, hey, let's meet at Three Forks at 5:30. Our office was right across the street from Three Forks, so it was perfect for me. And all 7 of them said yes. And so I was like, well, you know what? I got a little group going. So I went to LinkedIn Southside, and linked local Jacksonville, a couple LinkedIn groups. And I sent out some invitations, said, hey, I've got a small group of referral partners meeting at Three Forks at 5:30. Come join us for a little networking. 30 people showed up that Wednesday afternoon. And people were coming up to him and saying, Nelson, this is a great idea. You can do this again? Well, as soon as I heard that 3 times, I'm like, yes, I am. Right? Here's my beer and say, yes, I absolutely am.
RTO.
And so that turned into, fast forward 5 years, we've had, probably over 100 events. We have anywhere from 150 to 500 people, business owners, business professionals show up to network. And so that's something that really energized us. We've been behind it, and it's allowed us to help ourselves because we've gotten business from it, help the other business community, because they've gotten business from it. We've also started, as we grew our influence, we started to highlight nonprofits. We've highlighted probably 25 nonprofits across the city and helped them raise money and awareness and get board members. So it's been a really cool thing that came from just a small idea that turned into something really, really big.
And let me stop you right there really quick. For those of you watching, just to get a few more details, why don't you give the people watching more details? How can they get plugged in with your Interchanges events? Where does it happen? Where do they go to find out more? Just give a little more info on that.
Sure. So we actually put together a website all about it. So you can go to interchangesevents.com. Our next one is February 22nd at the Doubletree by Hilton, right downtown. And we've already got, 100 plus people signed up. We still got 12 days left, which means we're probably going to have a couple hundred business professionals there. And it's a great group, by the way. Our philosophy again is, look, don't come in here and bring your papers and try to pitch people and sell them on the spot. We're building relationships. I don't even like the term networking so much.
Yes.
It's more of a relationship building community. And we tell them, look, we're going to do these things on a regular basis. You don't have to come in here and sell anyone. Get to know people, build your network, and often I've heard the quote, your net worth is determined by the quality of your network.
Absolutely.
So we absolutely believe in the community that we've put together, and amazing people come to it, amazing people volunteer for it. And if you're in Jacksonville and you'd love to come, check it out, February 22nd. Just go to interchangesevents.com and you can learn more about it.
It's a free event. We do ask that you donate $10 to the nonprofit that we highlight that.
Don't be cheap.
Yes.
$10 to the nonprofit.
And we will have the URL at the bottom of the screen so you guys can quickly get access to the events. Chris, Nelson, I want to thank you guys both for being here today, sharing some of your wisdom and sharing all the experiences you had with goal setting and your mentorship and how you guys build relationships with your clients. For those of you watching, thank you very much for tuning into this podcast. Don't forget to check us out on our Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And at the bottom of the screen here, you will see the website, titansofwork.com. Feel free to add your email so you can stay connected and up to date with all of our latest podcasts. Until next week, Boltman out.